Okay, this is where we're at. I got the main frame cleaned up. I didn't have to do any repairs to it. I got the sluice box finished. Everything is mounted. All the adjustments I made for it, for the front and the rear, everything works perfectly. When I lift up the back, the front rails, you know, go forward and backwards and up and down and everything just right. That should allow me to have about 2 1/4 inch per foot down to, you know, 0 per foot, whatever I want. Haven't really decided yet how I'm going to do it. Probably going to run it at about 1 1/2 inch per foot. Now I've got the rails built to hold the barrels, and what I did here is I left enough space in between for me to add a 3rd barrel on each side. Now the frame, it's a good way for you to see it. This is from the other side of the where I haven't put the barrels in yet. What I did is I made these straps, and these straps go around the barrels, and then you use these big old springs, which are just old trampoline springs. They just snap in here like this, and they stretch around and lock up here, holding the barrel real nice and tight in place. And believe me, it ain't gonna move. Now, I already had this frame here made, as you can tell from looking on the other side, the way it was done. So all I had to do was make these brackets like this. These are 1/8 by 2 inch aluminum pieces right here, as you can tell. What I did is I welded them over this 1 inch piece, so they just slide right in place. Real easy, real simple. I've got these pins right here that are 5/16 that hold it in place. You'd think it would be weak being aluminum, but it's not. I mean, it probably hold my weight. I'm pretty big. Now, if you have any questions, such as the exact measurements maybe for the frame that I use to hold these barrels, you know, for these 15-gallon barrels, you can leave me an email address on the comments, and I'll be glad to send you the measurements to save you a little bit of time. How you hook it to the dredge really depends on the type of dredge you have. I have square tubing. I've seen them done with all kind of tie straps, bungee straps. You know, I was using bungee straps, but they have a tendency to break whenever they get a little bit weak. Alright, header box. I welded in these pieces right here, just tacked them in because it's really good and thin. Because I was getting gravel piling up here behind the pipes, so I went ahead and did that. I also raised up this right here, and I am going to make the expanded metal piece that will snap in here, so I'll have a 1 inch or, you know, expanded metal is slick for anything that may want to give me any trouble hanging up, so if I'm in an area with a lot of leaves, you know, things like that. One of the main changes I made here, you can see it good. Let's see here if we get down in here. Is I added this spring and this little eye bolt, and what it does is allow me to have 1 inch of bounce when it's running. I'm hoping that that's going to help kick out some of the rocks that I keep getting hung up in here. I did go ahead and weld every one of these down. I noticed a lot of the brand new dredges coming out. All the grizzly plate here is everything's welded. It doesn't have the loose rods in it. Now, I did make this where I can adjust it up higher or lower, a lot different from the other one. Unfortunately, when I built this thing the first time, I clear coated the aluminum. Big mistake. So it looks kind of funny right now because I used some pontoon cleaner on it to try to clean it up. Did a good job of taking and stripping off any oil or any marks that I had on this, but unfortunately the paint doesn't do so good up here. That was a big mistake. If I'd have left it raw aluminum, it'd been a lot easier to clean. Now I ended up raising up the motor mount about 3 inches. I'm actually looking at getting a larger motor to go on here. Right now the motor I have fits on here perfectly. It's balanced really good. Whenever you're making a dredge like this, what you want to do is build your main frame and everything. Before you mount your motor frame on, set the motor on it, put the whole thing on a piece of 2-inch angled iron or something like that right on the edge of it, and let it bounce like a seesaw. Look at the weight you got in the back and the weight you got in the front, and try to determine where your best point is to keep that thing level whenever it's running. Now I'm going to redo these pipes up here to where I'll have I don't need the shut-off valve. It just got in the way, and I'm going to go ahead and do something different here right on the pump. So all I need is this valve here running straight up into the header box. So if I need to use it for a Highbanker, I'll just plug it in. Most of the time I'll be dredging, so I won't be using it anyway. But the way things are getting nowadays, it's best to keep both options open. Now, it's big. The sluice box itself is 7 foot 4 inches long. I haven't measured the width yet, but it's actually only about 3 inches wider than the original. It's not much wider, and that's just because I made these brackets and I offset it a little bit. Now, if you think it's heavy, well, it's not that heavy. I mean, it's too heavy for me to pick completely up by myself with the motor on it, of course. Now, I can set one end up and then the other and slide it in a trailer or truck, no problem. Now, I can also, if I take off the tunes now, I can pick it up by myself. That's not a problem. And of course, I still have the wheels on it. And it sits about 2 inches off the floor, which is pretty easy to roll. Not a problem. So, I haven't got to the mat yet. I've got to order it. When I get the mat in, then I'll determine how I'm going to make the whatever I'm going to use to hold it in place. I've got some ideas. Get all the mat. I still think I'm going to use the Go Hog mat and the Vortex matting, and see what kind of combination I can get put together. And a lot of things to make. I need to make a new jet. I want to make a nice straight long one. I'm going to make another nozzle. Might make me a dry land nozzle as well. So if you have any questions about anything that I've done or you've seen me do, or something you'd like to see me do, or I just would like to know how to do it, just you know, leave me an email address or phone number in the comments, whatever you want to do, or contact me on Facebook. Got my listing there on the video. I actually do metal art for a living, so it's not a website you'll get spam from or anything like that. Until next time, good hunting.